Hi Clarinets, it's Miss Fleming. This is going to be your video of how to put together your mouthpiece and barrel, just the short horn stuff that we went over in class this past week. Now remember, you have to watch this entire video in order to earn your right to take your instrument home. I can see that on Canvas, but I'm also going to be posting a very short quiz, just asking about the order that we do things, and maybe I'll throw in something special during the video, just to make sure that you guys watched it. All right. So today, like I said, we always soak our reed while we're doing this. I'm using my pill bottle so that I can talk to you and not have it in my mouth. If you use a pill bottle to soak your reed, make sure you fill it with water, just regular water. And you want to dump it out every time you use it and then refill it, because if you keep it in here with the same reeds, it's going to get moldy and gross, and it'll smell bad and make your reeds taste really bad. So I don't want that for you. So I'm going to be using this. When you use a pill bottle or any sort of little itty bitty bottle that will hold water, we don't ever put a reed in it and then close the lid on it, because your reed can actually chip if the lid presses the reed into the bottom of the bottle. So we don't want to use the lid. We're just going to put it to the side. Remember, when you're holding your reed guard, like when it's in the plastic reed guard that it comes in, we want to make sure that this curved edge is on your right side. I'm not sure if this video is going to flip it or not, but I'm going to be holding it so that the logo is facing away from me and this hole is on the right side. So I hold the reed guard with one hand, just between two fingers. We don't need to grab the whole thing because that's going to make it harder to grab the reed. Just pinch the bottom with two fingers lightly, and then take another two fingers and pinch the reed that's sticking out and go ahead and pull it out. We want to be super careful that we don't hit the tip of our reed on the reed guard. We don't want to pull it out and bend it at all, because if we bend it, again, the reed is just going to crack really easily. This is the point of the video where you'd be putting it in your mouth or the medicine bottle or any sort of thing that can hold water, and you're going to want to put it in tip first very gently. If your reed is newer, it's probably going to float. Mine is a little bit older, so it's sinking just a tad. You might have to press it under the water, but again, you want to make sure that the tip of your reed does not touch the bottom of the bottle, because we don't want that to chip. So if you're leaving it in a bottle, you can set it to the side right now. If you're keeping it in your mouth, just keep it there, hang tight. The first thing that we're going to do is grease our cork. I've already done this because I've filmed this video a couple of times, so I'm not going to do it again because I don't want to waste my cork grease. So you're going to take your mouthpiece, take your barrel, and you're going to put them together. Remember, the mouthpiece always goes in on the thinner side of the barrel, because if you put it on the thicker side, it's loose. It's going to fall out super easily. It rattles around a little bit. Please don't do this. I'm just doing it to show you. But you want to make sure that your mouthpiece goes in the thinner side of your barrel. Now, while you're doing this, I want you to make sure that you don't touch the tip of your mouthpiece. I don't want you to hold it like this ever. If you're going to hold it, you're going to grab it from the side like this, and without touching the tip of your mouthpiece, and it will go on and come off pretty easily if you grease it enough. Once we have our mouthpiece and barrel together, I'm going to do this facing you so you can see what I'm doing with the reed. But when you're doing this at home or whenever you're practicing, I want you to do it so that the flat side with the hole on the mouthpiece, this side, faces you. Again, I'm doing this so that you can see what it would look like if you were doing this, but I don't want you to do it backwards like this at home, because that's how you chip a reed or your mouthpiece. So once you have your mouthpiece and your barrel together, we're going to put our ligature back on. Now, I talked a little bit about this in class. The leather ligatures kind of have this angle right here. The thicker side is going to go on the bottom of the mouthpiece. So like this. Like if I was to slide this on, it would go on the bottom of the mouthpiece, not the tip. It won't go like this, because if you do that, it's not going to fit right. See how much it sticks off? But if you flip it around, it should fit snug, just like that. You want to make sure that you're not tightening your ligature every time you put it back on your mouthpiece, unless you have a reed on it, because it's just going to be a pain to unscrew it and rescrew it every single time, and it's going to waste a lot of time as well. So remember, when your ligature is on, the screws are going to be on your right side. Again, I'm not sure if the camera is going to flip this, so please just trust me that it's on the correct side. The screw goes on the right side, and that's whether you have leather or metal ligature. It doesn't matter. It will always go on the right side. Now, for the leather ligature, the screw is going to be on the far side of the mouthpiece, not the flat side, but the opposite side. If it was a metal ligature, which I don't have one to show you as an example, but metal ligatures, this screw is going to be on the front side of the mouthpiece, where the flat side is, not far away from you. And again, if you look at it from the front and the screw is on the right side and your ligature is not upside down, because you can do this, But if you put it upside down on a leather ligature, the screw's going to be on the front. So you want to make sure it is on the back, like that. So while you're doing this, you're going to take a finger. For you, it's probably going to be your pointer finger. I'm going to use my thumb just because, again, I'm facing this away from me. But you can use your pointer finger like that. And you're going to kind of push the ligature up and towards you like this, so that there's this little space underneath the ligature here. You can actually see there's a lot of space underneath mine because I loosened mine enough so that it won't touch the reed when we put it on. But you want to make sure that there's a lot of space underneath that ligature so we don't chip our reeds. So while you're holding it, facing you, pressing the ligature towards you with that space, then we grab our reeds gently. Again, we never touch the tip of our reed. When I soak my reed in water, I also put it in my mouth just to take off the excess water. Because once we start playing our instruments, if there's excess water on the reed, it's going to sound kind of funny. So I always just put it back in my mouth and just take it out, getting all the excess water off. Now, when you're putting your reed on your mouthpiece, the logo is the side that goes against the mouthpiece. So you want to see this crescent right here. Let me set my mouthpiece again. So you want to see this crescent and the shiny wood facing towards you. Remember, the thin spot is the part that goes up, and we don't touch this ever. It's way too easy to break. If you forget which side is the tip of your reed, and which side is the bottom, you can hang it up to the light, and I'll actually show you in this video. If you put it up to the light, you can actually see through the tip, but you can't see through the bottom of the reed. So the tip goes up. The logo goes away from you. Again, I'm doing this backwards so you can see what it will look like for you. But I'm pressing my ligature forward, so there's that space. And I take the reed by the sides with the logo facing the mouthpiece. And then I just very carefully slide it down behind my ligature. This is where you want to keep a finger underneath the ligature, because if I just drop it, it could slide all the way out and then hit the floor and chip. And we don't want to break our reeds. We want to make sure that they last as long as possible. So I'm going to do this again. I always grab it by the sides. Do not pinch it like this, because then you're going to hit the tip of your mouthpiece with your thumb like that. We don't want to touch the tip of our mouthpiece. So we want to grab it by the sides, put the logo against the mouthpiece, and slowly lower it with our finger underneath to catch the reed. Just like that. Now, there's still a lot of wiggle room with the ligature and the reed, and that's okay, because now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we position the reed perfectly. I'm going to have to look at this while I do it, and then I'll turn it around and show you what I did. But again, I touch the reed by the sides when I'm fixing it. I don't just push it down from the top, because that's going to break the reed. So I hold it from the sides. I position it so that I can just see a little sliver of the black part of the mouthpiece right above the reed. Still touching the bottom with my thumb just to keep it in place. And once I feel like it's in the right place, I'm going to keep my thumb there, release the top of the reed. The thumb is holding the reed in place. I'm going to lower my ligature so that I can see those lines on the mouthpiece, and I can still see the crescent part of the wood on my reed. And once it's just below the lines on your mouthpiece, you can tighten it. Now, remember, you're probably going to not tighten it enough. It's going to be a little bit too loose. You need to tighten it to the point where if I just take my pincher fingers and just wiggle it back and forth, it won't move. That's when it's tight enough. We don't want it so tight that it's hard to loosen. We also don't want it so loose that it just wiggles around, because that's when our reed falls off and it breaks. So I want to show you. If you can see, there's just a hair of black right at the top of my reed, like barely any. Now, some of you guys are probably going to put it too low to where you can see the hole of the mouthpiece. I don't know if you can see it in this video, but you can actually see the hole in here. That's too low. It's going to be really hard to play with your reed in place like that, so you're going to want to wiggle it up just a little bit. And then fix the ligature so it goes right with those lines. I'm more worried about seeing the top line than the bottom line, because if you notice, my ligature kind of goes at an angle. I'd rather see the top line than the bottom line, because if I can see the bottom line with the ligature angle, it's going to be way too high up on the reed, and then you can't see that crescent. So just make sure it's far enough down, and then you tighten it. Again, just enough so that if you lightly wiggle it, it doesn't move back and forth. And that's what your mouthpiece and barrel and reed should look like. Now, when we play short horn, we always wrap our hand around the barrel. We don't want to grab it by the mouthpiece because if the barrel is loose, it can fall off. And if you notice, I'm having to hold on to the reed to do that. And if I play like this, sound won't come out because I'm stopping the reed from vibrating. So we want to make sure that we're grabbing by the barrel. Now, this is the important part. You have to sit with your best band posture when you're playing short horn. So make sure you're sitting up straight. Now I'm going to set this down so I can show you my face while I'm doing this. We're going to do the we two. When you say we, I want you to make sure your bottom lip is flat, like completely flat, because there's a difference between this we, this is good, and we, where it's kind of loose. Remember, if you want to pretend that you're putting on chapstick and you kind of roll your bottom lip over, it's flat. It's not bunched up or padded out like this. It's flat. So you're going to go we, flat bottom lip, and then you say two. And all that changes is your corners come in. So watch. We, two. The bottom lip is still flat. So I don't want you to go we, two. Because see that? My lips are sticking out. That's going to make a bad sound on clarinet. And I want you guys to sound amazing. You're going to sound amazing. You just have to keep practicing this at home. So if you could practice this with a mirror, that would be ideal. Because I want you to look at your mouth while you're doing this. I don't want you to practice this without looking at your face. Because then you're going to form habits that is going to take a lot of work to fix. And if you're not seeing what you're doing, you don't know if you're doing it right. And I don't want you to practice the wrong thing. We never practice the wrong thing in band. So we, two. Just like that. It feels a little silly doing this by myself. So with the mouthpiece and barrel, again, short horn, we always grip by the barrel. We're going to go we, then I drop my jaw, set my mouthpiece in, gently set my teeth down. Then I say two to push my corners in, and then you can play. So I'm going to do this kind of slowly, step by step. So first step is we, then I drop my jaw, we, place the clarinet on my bottom lip. Now, halfway down the reed should be where your lips touch. So watch this. We, right out there. This might be difficult, and I know you guys don't have these teeth pads on top of your clarinets, but I want you to also look at where you're putting your teeth down, because some of you just do the tip. That's not going to make any sound. Some of you are going to want to go too deep, but that's covering your entire mouthpiece, and then you're just going to squeak. So about halfway down is also where your teeth touch. So now I'm going to do steps 1, 2, and 3. I do we, set the clarinet down, set my teeth down. We, so my teeth touch about that far down. You don't want it any higher, you don't want it any lower. So right about there. We, and then if you want to take your fingernail and just figure out where you're setting your teeth so you can pull it out and look at it, that's totally fine. Just remember, we never touch the tip of our reed and we never touch the tip of our mouthpiece. So now I'm going to add in step 4. So it's going to go we, set the mouthpiece, set the teeth, and say two, and close your corners around. Now, I want you to also pay attention here. The same thing without the clarinet as with the clarinet. We want to make sure our bottom lip doesn't pout out. This is all 4 steps. We, two. Now, if I took my clarinet out, my bottom lip is still flat. Not like this. That's not a good embouchure. You want to make sure your bottom lip is flat. So this is the last time I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to take a breath and just play so you can hear what it's supposed to sound like. It might be a little bit loud, so I apologize. We, two. And you can play that to your heart's content. I am so excited for you guys to take your instruments home. That is how you put your mouthpiece and barrel together, the whole setup for short horn and how to play it. Now I want to go over how to take it apart. And then there will be a quiz at the end of this. I'm just going to have you guys do a discussion post. So I'll open that right after I post this video. It might take a few minutes for the video to load to YouTube, so please be patient. But I'm going to do a discussion post and you're going to answer a question. So I want you to give me the 4 steps in your discussion post, the 4 steps of putting your clarinet in the mouth. So I'm going to go over this again. So you go, we, set the clarinet, teeth down, 2. Now I want you to do that in complete sentences. I don't want you to just say that. So you can say, Miss Fleming, step 1, say we, make sure your bottom lip is flat. Step 2, set the clarinet with the reed about halfway down on your bottom lip, keeping the lip flat. Step 3, gently set your teeth on the top of the mouthpiece about, I'd say, a third of the way down. And then step 4 would be, say 2, close your corners around the mouthpiece, but still keeping that bottom lip flat. So I want you to put as much detail into that discussion post as possible, just so that I know that you understand how important each of those steps are. All right, so taking the clarinet mouthpiece apart, it's the same way that we do full clarinet. We do the same steps, but backwards. So this time we're going to take the ligature off. All you have to do, remember, keep your thumb on the bottom of your reed so it doesn't fall off. You're just going to lightly press that. And it takes barely any pressure. Like literally just setting my thumb on it will keep it from falling off. You're going to loosen your ligature and just take it all the way off. Make sure that when you take your ligature off, you don't like hit the tip of your reed. Sorry, you couldn't see that. Don't hit the tip of your reed at all. Just lift it straight off without touching the tip of the reed or the tip of the mouthpiece. Notice how my thumb is keeping that reed in place, and if you've been playing and your reed's a little bit wet, it'll naturally stick to the mouthpiece a little. You can just set your ligature to the side for now. Then we are going to gently take our reed off. Again, I am grabbing it by the sides. Do not ever grab the tip of your reed like this. Don't do that. It'll break. So grab the sides of the reed and pull it off. Now you can set your mouthpiece and barrel gently in your case. I'm just setting mine to the side on my case. And we're going to put our reed back in the reed guard that it came in. We're going to keep doing this for a while until everybody has the 4x4 reed guard, because that's more important, and you have to slide tip first, and I don't want you breaking them. So don't use those yet, please. Use this. Again, when you're doing this, the logo is facing away from you. I have to do this my way so I don't mess it up. But this hole on the side of the reed guard should go on your right side. Your right. When you are looking at it, it's on the right. And this thinner part goes on the bottom, and the long part goes up. Now, if you look, a lot of them have the Van Doren logo. So if the V looks like a V, it's correct. If it looks like an A or an upside down V, then you're holding it upside down. So make sure that that's upright. And you just want to hold it with that hole on the right side facing upright. Take your reed, tip side up, logo facing away from you. And we gently put this first piece in, just the corner, on the bottom. And then what we do is we slide it in very carefully, because if you notice, there's just enough space for the reed to go in there. Now, if you go at an angle like this, your reed isn't going to go in. You have to make sure it is lined up perfectly, because you don't want to chip that tip. Once it's in place, you can just go ahead and put that back in your case. So the reed will look like this when it's in the guard. There's the front. There's the back. You can just set it back in your case or in the reed box if you prefer to keep your reeds in the box. And then the last 2 pieces that we have to deal with are the mouthpiece and barrel. Again, don't grab it by the tip. You're going to grab it like around the thicker side of the mouthpiece and just pull it off like that. If you need to twist it back and forth a little bit, I usually do, but I can also pull it straight off. It's just a little bit more work, and that's a little bit harder on your cork. So I would probably just gently twist it off. Then we're going to set our barrel in the case, still holding the mouthpiece. Again, we don't touch the tip. Put the ligature back on the correct way. So remember, this thicker side goes on the bottom, and the screws go on your right side. I can't remember if this camera flips or not. So make sure the screw is on your right side, and it depends if it's metal or leather. If it's leather, it's going to be on the back side, so your mouthpiece cap hole is going to go away from you like that. just to make space for the part that sticks out right here. Now, if it's a metal ligature, your screws are going to be on the front. This is really bad. Don't do that. But if you use a metal ligature, the screws are going to be on the front, so the open spot of the mouthpiece cap is actually going to face you. So make sure that your mouthpiece cap is going on the correct way as well. So if you have a leather ligature, the hole goes away from you. If you have a metal ligature, it faces you. I just want to clarify that. And then once you're done with that, you can go ahead and set it back in your case. Gently close your case and lock it shut. And I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys watch it all the way through. Remember to do the discussion post. I just need the 4 steps of setting your mouthpiece in your mouth to make a sound. And I am going to go ahead and post this on YouTube and open up that discussion post so you guys can start answering those questions immediately. All right. Have a good weekend. Have a great Labor Day. I can't wait to see you guys on Tuesday, and hopefully we can bring our instruments home. Yay. All right. Bye.